Good afternoon and welcome to VmVidya Channel. I am with you, Dharmender Singh. As you all know that this session belongs to webinar from 4 to 5. We have got only 1 hour and that is sufficient, I believe. But before we start today's session, I would like to give you few information about Cyber Safety and Security Week. I believe you all know that we are celebrating this week from 1st of Feb, that will be continued till 8th of Feb. In order to spread internet awareness, NCERT is doing great job into this while providing so many sessions, so many activities. So that's why NCERT is doing a good job over here. Few more things. On 9th of February, Safer Internet Day, I would say that will be conducting a panel discussion also, and 9th of Feb would be that day. A link will be shared very soon to you on 9th of February onwards. Participants can also participate into this and they will get a certificate as well. Okay, there you are. Now comes back to today's webinar. Today's topic, let me introduce the topic today first. Protecting privacy in cyberspace. How it will gonna be? You will get a complete picture of this. And who is going to tell this about? I will introduce her as well. If you have any questions, any query regarding this, you can call back to us on our toll-free number 1800 There is another one 1800 You can mail us where you can write it down the mail ID training@ciit.nic.in. I am repeating again, training@ciit.nic.in. You can see on your television screen. And apart of this, if you would like to see this program live, where you can do this, where you can see this, NCERT official YouTube channel, if you can tune, you will find this session live over there. And VmVideocon channel has got 12 channel from 1 to 12. You can watch this over there, like 756 on TataSky, 527 on DTH TV, 440 Airtel TV, etc. All right, it's time to introduce our expert now. Please welcome Dr. Karnika Seth, cyber law expert and advocate, Honorable Supreme Court of India. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dharmender
Right.
I think it's a wonderful topic indeed. We are going to be discussing privacy in cyberspace today. And I want to, at the outset, congratulate NCERT, CIT for organizing this important, subject. And the workshop today on protecting privacy in cyberspace is very, very important for each one of us today. And in the Cyber Safety Week, which we are celebrating, this is a topic of importance, utmost importance, I would say. And I hope that this session will benefit one and all today. We are trying to spread cyber awareness and cyber empower every citizen of India through this program. It's indeed a great opportunity, and I'm happy to take this session today.
Precisely. All right, ma'am. So all time is yours now. You can start the way you want to be started with.
Thank you. Okay, so at the outset, I'd like to, delve a little bit on what is privacy in cyberspace. We are all aware that, cyberspace is a huge network of computers. It has no boundaries, it has no territories defined. And today, in the times of digital, technology and AI and IoT, which is Internet of Things, and the dark web, this cyberspace is growing day by day phenomenally. And the most important part of this is anonymity. And you understand with anonymity comes a lot of freedom, but at the same time, there are also threats which are prevalent in the cyberspace today. So we will be talking about what are those threats and how we can use the particular medium of technology and cyberspace for good purposes, and there could also be some threats against which we have to safeguard ourselves. Particularly protecting our privacy is one of the most important aspects of our debate in today's times. Now let's straight away go to the NCRB statistics. I'd like to point out that as per our NCRB, the number of cases which are of cybercrime, they're rising. 1.6% it has risen, and crimes against women have risen by 7.3%, and cybercrimes in all increased by 63.5%. So the number of cases which have risen are definitely every year increasing day by day. And during 2019, 60.4% of cybercrime cases were registered. They were for fraud, or some were for sexual exploitation, and while others were also for the purposes of causing disrepute. So a lot of times when we are online, we may not realize the kind of threats which are also prevalent. While you get a lot of information material, educational material, and you can do so much online in terms of enhancing your skill sets, there is also a flip side of the same, which is cyber crimes. So in a nutshell, if I have to talk about cyber crimes, they are electronic crimes. Now, when you're on the road or on your street or in your office or otherwise, there are offline crimes possible. We used to talk about kidnapping, fraud, blackmail, and any kind of cheating, but those crimes are not just limited to physical space. Now they are also prevalent on the online media, which is cyberspace. So if we have to talk about that, then we categorize these into, say, crimes against government, for example, crimes against a nation, like cyber terrorism. They could be also crimes against property, like your credit card frauds. It could be crimes against person, like defamation, or stealing somebody's pictures, or making morphed pictures and things like that. So these are all classified under cyber crimes. And look at this particular snapshot of figurative diagram for explaining the kinds of crimes. Stalking, you must have heard of how somebody online can stalk someone else on social media or through emails, through messages, through social media, or otherwise. Pornography, lots of obscene material against children or even women or otherwise is available online, and that could be a threat. Specifically, it could also invade privacy because, for example, through malware or through viruses, one email, for example, can be an infected email, or when you're downloading a file, it can be infected. And once you download it and the system gets infected, it could have a keylogger within it, which would violate a person's privacy. It could automatically trigger your webcam. And that's a scare in today's times, because if we don't use a good antivirus or an anti spyware, our privacy could be invaded. Cheating by personation, phishing. Now, those are things which are basically aimed at financial frauds these days. Having a fake lottery scam, having a mail promising a job. All these are instances of how phishing scams are prevalent in social media or otherwise. Fake websites which look like real websites of a bank, for example, but it could be a fake website which may have a little different spelling, maybe an S which is added to a particular bank's name and you don't notice it, but it could be a fake website where you put in your real the customer ID and password, and that could be hacked, and your details are compromised, and those are used at the real site to actually commit a crime. So I will tell you about safeguards, how one needs to use online space in a safer manner to protect you against these kind of frauds. Then identity theft. A person can have any kind of identity and garb and fake identity and create a fake account online very easily with technological tools. Cyber defamation is another problem. Hacking, that is stealing somebody's data or any files, unauthorizedly accessing an account. Extortion, blackmailing someone to give certain information or money for example, threats that we will probably make a video viral, or these are very common examples I'm giving you, but these are real life examples. And very, very commonly known problems like social media has a fake profile of mine. There are lots of times we are contacted by people asking for what is the legal advice we can give in this regard. So this is why I say this is very important for us to know. Criminal intimidation, bullying someone. Cyberbullying is a huge problem across the globe, but particularly in India, we've seen several instances of cyberbullying, and some children have taken a drastic step without, discussing with their school counselor or without even sharing it with their parents. And therefore, it's very important that the children, specifically who are suffering from any kind of an attack online, whether it is bullying attack or any kind of depression symptoms are there, must share the same with your parents or a counselor. That's very important. And as parents and as teachers, we need to be observant of any such symptoms being shown in a particular child's progress or a behavior. That's very important. So any kind of sexual abuse, sexual harassment through online media is also possible. Many times sexting is a problem. A lot of times you get a message which is sexually abusive or sexually obscene, and may hurt the self-esteem of a child, or harass a child in a particular manner, or sexually abuse a child. So that is also illegal, and I have put various sections across, mentioning various provisions of the law here. But regardless of going into these sections, but I want to say that IPC is a general law, Indian Penal Code, and our Indian Information Technology Act is the main act which protects us, and has various provisions to deter these crimes and punish people who commit these crimes. And the punishments vary from up to 3 years of imprisonment or even more in certain cases. And in those cases which is above 3 years, it is a non-bailable offense. So now let's look at this rise of sexual abuse, particularly among children. I said that the children are vulnerable. They are exposed to a lot of child predators who are, from the harmless pictures which children post on social media. They take those pictures and morph them and put them on illegal websites to make money, and they are child pornography rackets. And a number of times the motive is sexual gratification or commercial purposes, exploiting the child for the same reason. And even studies have been conducted, and it has been found that 53% of children in India have been reported to be sexually abused. So if this is the kind of figure, each child needs to know this, that if he's contacted or stalked, or his pictures are stolen or threatened, if he's threatened, or if he or she is under any kind of an attack or feels inconvenient for some reason, needs to share this with their immediate, trusted people. Children being approached in chat rooms, they are being contacted, as they would like to befriend these children who are vulnerable, and through various means, they take away personal sensitive information from the children. Whether they are alone at home or not is also sometimes, gullibly posted by children on social media. And that's something which I always say, that don't post anything that you don't want any other hacker to see. So don't post even in certain chat rooms which are, which could be even intercepted or hacked by people. Deep fakes are a problem. Morphing of pictures is a problem. Easily the video can be doctored, pictures can be doctored, and has been many cases, this has been found, and cases have been registered for the same. The Section 67B of our Information Technology Act bans child pornography. Even POCSO Act, there are sections which make it a crime, and any kind of producing a video of a child or pictures of children in obscene condition, they are something which is amounting to an offense under the Indian law also. And there have been cases where the Supreme Court of India has also banned and blocked child pornography, and the law also says the same. So that's a very strict law in India. And sexual harassment of women also is also prevalent. So before I go to sexual harassment of women, I must say that if you come to know any child is being attacked online or sexually abused, it is mandatory to report this offense to the law enforcement authorities, that is the police. Coming to sexual harassment of women, the offences under IPC and IT Act, very clear provisions are there. If a woman is stalked, if, for example, a woman, sometimes it's been reported she's gone to a changing room and found a hidden cam. I've also handled cases where women have been, captured in webcams, unsuspected places, in a hotel room, a couple goes, these kind of things are real life cases, and we have handled these cases. There have been invasion of privacy in many of these cases. Again, pictures and videos have been taken. Extortion rackets follow. They start blackmailing you. Pay this amount, otherwise we will, put you into trouble. We'll publicize this on social media or sell it to various websites. And in number of cases, we had to send legal notices to the registrars of the websites to actually take down this kind of content if it is found that some picture has been misused by someone. Police report is immediately required in such cases, and the identity of a woman or a child can be kept secret. That is also the law, that should not be revealed in media or otherwise. And the IT Act provisions, the IPC provisions are very clearly there. So in case there is a blackmail and somebody puts as a revenge porn, earlier somebody is a friend of someone, and the pictures are selfies, for example, are shared gullibly by a girl, and later on this person starts blackmailing. It could be vice versa, any gender, and then that's known as revenge porn. So in such cases, again, punishments up to 3 years of imprisonment and fine are prescribed by law. Indecent representation of Women's Act could come into picture. That is also there. And Vishakha judgment is very famous judgment on sexual harassment against women at workplace act. So this particular protection was given. Guidelines were issued in this case on how women in workplace need to be protected. So if a webcam has been installed in a particular office, for example, they need to be told. There has to be an IT policy. There has to be a social media policy by the office, and the committee should be also there to protect women's rights if there is a case of sexual harassment, so that she can complain to the redressal committee. So these laws are all there, and enforcement of these laws is very much prevalent, and people need to understand, everybody needs to be aware of these aspects. Then we come to this identity theft and cheating. Very, very prevalent again. Fake social media accounts are being used to tweet or to otherwise publish any kind of illegal content. And identity theft is, again, a huge concern, because easily one can fake an identity or register a fake website and use it for illegal purposes. Nobody's checking what address is given, what is the name there. And the motive is again sexual exploitation or extortion. And again, identity theft is punishable by the IT Act. Under the IT Act, up to 3 years of imprisonment or fine. Cheating by personation is again a punishable under Section 66D of our IT Act, with again up to 3 years of imprisonment and fine, or both. And in such cases, one needs to report the matter to police. 112 is there. Cybercrime.gov.in. Very important. This is website of the government where you can actually the police authorities are there. You can report any kind of complaint online by sitting at your home. You can just type on this particular website, cybercrime.gov.in. It has a form you can fill in, and an FIR can be registered based on the complaint. An investigation will follow. One needs to also keep screenshots of evidence. So whatever is the document, whether it's a message that you've received, or it's a website a screenshot, or a particular email, you can just keep the screenshots of evidence. Don't delete it, because if you do delete it, then investigation will be hindered. How will you get justice? So it's important to keep the screenshots of evidence. Many of these news clips you would have found on the web, jilted, persons creating fake Facebook or other accounts of a woman being arrested. Now, this is an everyday story. There are more than one or two cases reported in media press every single day when there are crimes against women, children, or even, I would say, senior citizens or men. So nobody is, left unexposed to this kind of a risk online, and therefore, whether you're an adult or whether you're working in an office or you're a school student, everybody needs to be aware of these issues so that you take preemptive steps to prevent them. Now, coming to phishing rackets, the kind of rackets which are possible. Wishing, for example. What is wishing? It's not just wishing somebody a happy birthday, it's actually wishing, which means on phone or using VoIP, voice over internet protocol, one tries to steal personal sensitive information like your financial card details or net banking details, and then cause a worry, because the moment you share that, it's your accounts are debited, bank accounts are debited, or your smart wallets could be debited unauthorizedly by the phisher. So this phishing is actually a financial crime, and a person steals money through garbing a fake identity in this case. If it is through email, we generally call it as phishing, and if it is through an SMS, we call it as smishing. So what is to be done? Never obviously reveal your OTPs, and keep two-step verification. Even in your email accounts or even in your social media accounts, one always should have a two-step verification. not to share passwords with anyone, keeping password managers because there are a number of accounts we hold today, fake lottery scams, employment mails, just ignore and delete the moment you receive them. Nothing comes for free online, so whatever you download from the web needs to be tested with antivirus. Using of keyloggers, malware is very prevalent, so keep an anti-spyware as well on your devices. And if you see any kind of suspecting activity, you need to just be careful and get your phone tested or use a software tool to scan it. Then you must also know that even phishing is a punishable offense, which is up to 3 years of punishment and fine or more, and it's also under IPC an offense, right? So if we see the kind of law which is prevalent, apart from the IPC, we have IT Act, as I mentioned. Now, you can also get compensation if there is a problem and you've lost your monies through hacking. Not only can you file a criminal complaint, but you have compensation. It can be, under Section 43, read with 46 of our IT Act. And again, we need to report it to an adjudicating officer, who is the Secretary IT of every state. He is empowered to give you compensation in such cases. While for criminal action, you report it to police. For compensation, you go to the adjudicating authority under IT Act. And if it's a bank fraud, you just need to report it to the bank immediately to get your maybe a credit card blocked or a particular account sealed because you don't want any kind of unauthorized activity on the account. And you must have registered for alerts. Very importantly, any debits which happen to your account, you must have registered your phone and your email, registered email for the same. If a bank server is hacked, you're not at fault. You have not shared your passwords with anyone, nor your OTPs. In that case, there is zero liability on the customer. So when he reports the fraud on an immediate basis, he will get entire compensation back, whatever monies he's lost. Register the police complaint on the cybercrime.gov.in instantly. That's very important. And you can always go and approach the emergency helpline 112. Now, we are talking about online safety best practices, and I must say that we do understand the need for cyber awareness in schools and across all verticals of people, I would say, all categories, whether it's corporates or whether it's schools or it's otherwise, general population. And therefore, it's important to use the right softwares also, technically safeguard yourself, use filtering softwares, and education needs to be there in schools, cyber safety, as well as sex education. And internal complaints committees need to be put in place to meet complaints of sexual harassment. And IT policies have to be very soundly placed in every organization. One needs to build trust to keep the communication channels open, especially with children. Very important. Now, during COVID times, when children are struggling to study online, not only educationally, it is, I would say, difficult for them to adapt, but now things have been there for a while and they have been trying to make the most of online means. At the same time, there have been many threats, and that is prevalent, in cyberspace, and we've seen 86% growth of cybercrime during the COVID times. In one such case, the Delhi police, registered a complaint against a fraudster who created a fake UPI ID for PM CARES Relief Fund. Now, this is just one of the cases, but children have faced attacks online through video conferencing. If they're talking or if they're having a classroom, sometimes hackers have hacked in, intercepted. Many times they have suffered on account of some sort of bullying. A lot of these issues are common issues, but therefore we have been, there have been advisories issued by schools, by Delhi police also, to meet these challenges, and actually it's been warning people not to pay any kind of donation schemes. Whether they are fake or not, we don't know. So it has to be only genuine websites that should be relied on, official handles of those, government relief funds, which should be looked into. Don't go in for fake testing kits, vaccines, sanitizers, and a lot of retail chain frauds, happening, because people think they will get this sitting at home and they order, and the things never reach. The monies are already debited. So a lot of retail online shopping frauds. And to add to the problems, fake therapists, astrologers, fake apps, infected links, and online apps. So one has to rely on only very authentic apps. And one of the important challenges was the fake lottery or the fake loan money loan, basically loan frauds, and various apps giving monies to people and then later on blackmailing them for giving the installments in time and trying to harass them. And that case is also pending in South India. So you would have come across all these challenges in these times. And the use of dark web, for example, to sell blood of corona patients who've recovered or sell other kinds of illegal products, online. So one has to be beware of all these things. That's what the advisory also says. So you can also safeguard yourself from fake news, for example, or these kind of fake websites. It's important to go with newspaper websites or official news handles. Go into checking a particular news. You should see whether this is credible or not. Check the PIV reports. Check official government websites, official news sites, the WHO website. For any kind of donations you want to make, check official handles of government. Detecting fake videos are also possible using certain, I would say, tools available. Even websites are available of the news channels themselves who give these tools for free, and sometimes publish what is a fake video and what is a deep fake or what is not a deep fake. So one needs to, before you rely on any information online, it's important to see the credibility of that information today. So certain websites which detect fake news are like Podometer, factcheck.org, Snopes, Hoaxy, MetaFact, and so on and so forth. You can actually see there's so many resources available. Even Times Internet has a TOI fact check, and Quint has a web goof. So you can actually rely on these before you act on a particular information. Several advisories were also given by the certain during the COVID times by the Ministry of IT, and advising people on how you can securely use video conferencing platforms. So there have been advisories to intermediaries also, particularly social media channels, to fake news, and also best practices to protect yourselves against cyber attacks, cyber security, advisories on cyber security, and usage of Zoom video conferencing application or other platforms, how you can securely use. There are certain best practices shared by the government with users. You will find all of these on the official website of MIT, which is the Ministry of IT. Now, for the time being, we're talking about safeguards to your privacy, and therefore it's very important for us to know that each one of us is entitled to the right to privacy as a fundamental right in India, and that is under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. This has been upheld by the 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India in the Justice K.S. Puttaswamy case. And so nobody can collect any information about you, whether it's any social media platform whatsoever, without your express consent. What you would allow them to collect, how you want them to process it, store the data, update or delete data. Those policies have to be given very clearly in the terms of use, which you must read. Because the moment you sign and say, I agree, means you've given your consent. And that is legally valid. So it also needs to have, every website has to also have a privacy policy, a public grievance officer to resolve people's problems. And if you understand the legal validity, it is legally valid document. If you click on I agree and you browse a website for any service or use its services, you're bound by the terms. So therefore, there was a huge hue and cry about social media platforms, specifically WhatsApp, in terms of creating its new policy, which is being now looked into closely. So because they launched it in a manner that take it or leave it manner, so there has been a huge debate in the country regarding that. And you're also aware, various apps and websites collect more information than is necessary. How many times you would have tried to order, a download a food app, and the food app will ask you to give access to your camera to give access to your microphone or to give access to your whole picture gallery. Why would you need to do that? Has anybody thought about this? Many people don't think about it and just click and say, okay, give away the access when it's not required. When downloading an app, it can be easily, you can easily choose, for example, if a food app needs to know where your location is, you can simply choose access to geolocation at the time of using the app, not at all times. So this is something which you also must consider. Then coming to protecting personal data, ultimately the safety is actually in our hands. So we have also got the obligation to protect our personal data. And so is the service provider who takes our data and saves it in his cloud or his server. So the section 43 of our IT Act, A specifically 43A, makes this service provider liable to protect us, our information. And if they don't put due diligence, into reasonable security practices, then specifically like ISO 27001 is one certification. If they don't follow that, they could be held liable, or they have to have a comparable prescribed certification to protect our information. And if they flout on that, then obviously they can be held liable for paying us compensation. So coming back to how we need to safeguard, personal data.
Dr. Seth, before you move further, I would like
Yes.
to ask a few things to you. You can
Sure.
take a breathing space here.
Sure.
Mehak Jindal is a viewer and she's asking one question. That's a very sweet question, I would say. I have a little doubt, like we search Google for study material, ask some question, okay? Then how can we know it's a safe or not? Mehak Jindal.
Okay, so when you're doing a Google search and you come to know a particular answer, you will actually get search results. Now, you have to rely on a particular answer or not depends on how authentic the source is. Usually, most authentic, resources are put at the top of Google search. But however, it's your, I think it's due diligence to actually, or best practice to see whether, that information is reliable or not is coming from the official handle of a particular, for example, a university paper or a particular publishing house, has published a particular paper. So the credibility of the website is to be checked for also checking the credibility of the content which is on it. That's most important.
Okay, I would like to add one more thing over here. Whosoever joined us little late, let me tell you that we are discussing about protecting privacy in cyberspace under the webinar conducted by the NCERT. Dr. Karnika Seth is with us. You have already been explained a lot of things about privacy, but actually we need to understand what is privacy and is it a guaranteed, isn't it?
Yes. Privacy, if you want to protect yourself, for example, you have a particular personal information, your financial data, your health record. For example, it could be your even date of birth. If you don't want to disclose it to somebody, it's your personal data. But you can actually classify informational privacy as one, and otherwise, general privacy of a person. For example, if you're in a particular area like your room, you don't want anybody else obviously to snoop into what you're doing in your room. So that is also an aspect of privacy, that is physical space privacy. How much of yourself you want to share with the others, your information about yourself is under the informational privacy. So that is what it is. And if you don't want people to understand or even come to know a particular conversation between two people and you're using a secure platform for the same, you don't expect other person to hear you in that particular conversation. So that is also something which falls in the ambit of privacy. So ultimately, it is the private space of a person, how much to share about himself or of himself. That is how I would define privacy. And it's also important to know that this is a fundamental right of every citizen of India under our Article 21 of the Constitution of India. So that's the right of privacy. It's a fundamental right.
Right, we have got 10 to 12 minutes left as well. A few more things we need to, I think, confirm. So I think if you have any content, you can switch it very quickly. Then last 10 minutes, we will go for the question and answer mode.
Sure, I'll just like to, start with the presentation, the remaining part of it.
Right.
So now when we're talking about safeguarding our personal data, the data, it's a very apt question. basically includes messages, text, images, sound, voice, codes. All this comes under information. And your information and your data, whether it's pictures or it's any kind of voice, all this could be private, and again, you have a right to protect the same. Now, there are various, criterias laid in terms of compensation, how much compensation one will get if there is a violation. And that depends on the amount of loss and how much is the repetitive nature of the default. So there is no limit to compensation given under the IT Act. And the directors of a company could also be held liable if they have, unauthorizedly taken information and not acted in due diligence to protect the same. And if there is a law enforcement request on a complaint, there is a complaint made and the law enforcement asks for this data to investigate, they have to give this, social media platforms have to give the data. Now, very important to highlight the PDP bill. We have, a new law which is coming into being by the name of PDP bill, and this will increase the ambit of personal data, what falls under that scope. For example, your religious, political views or preferences are also going to be falling under the same, and it will also impact any kind of profiling activity or behavioral advertising activity being done by the platforms, social media or otherwise. So, and it will also be applicable to government as well as private entities. So what information they are collecting from us, what use are they going to make out of it, and where are you going to store it, all this will be regulated by the under the PDP bill. There will be a data protection authority which is going to be created, and there would be also certain data which is localized, which will speed up the investigation process because electronic evidence will be easily available. So in case there's a breach, there's a quick redressal available with the data protection authority which will be put in place. And it also requires not collecting any kind of data which is not necessary. So only for legal purposes certain data could be collected, and you have a right to be forgotten. So you don't want a particular data to rest with a particular provider, you can actually say that you don't want the service. And therefore it's very important that this bill comes into being now. Mirror copy of the same, this data will be also saved in Indian servers, and very sensitive data like health record or payment data will not go out of India without the consent of the user and the data protection authority. Very stringent remedies given under even the GDPR in Europe. This is a general data protection directive, new law which has been brought in Europe. Similar to that, penalties in India will be, in the PDP bill, have been prescribed to be up to 15 crores of compensation or 4% of the global annual turnover of a company. So you can imagine with this new PDP regime which will come into play, a lot of security and privacy will be brought into being and more strengthened. This right will be more strengthened basically of people. So if there is a crime, one needs to immediately report the matter to the local police station, collect the evidence, save it, and go for both civil and criminal remedies as may be available to you. Use the police helplines, and in certain cases, both civil and criminal remedies will be available. In certain cases, only criminal remedies could be available, depending on the facts of every case. But for you to understand how you can safeguard yourself, keep your private information private. My advice to you would be to use security privacy settings carefully when you download anything. Keeping software and OS up to date is very important. Having a good anti-spyware, good antivirus, and if you want to surf anonymously, use Tor or other tools. But
Dr.
you
Singh,
must.
we have got 10 minutes left now only, so you need to do it
Sure.
very quickly.
Sure, we can start with your questions, and while I do them, basically I'll answer them. I will also be talking about these cyber safety tips. Please go ahead.
Okay, yes, there is a guy, a viewer, Nation. Okay, the name is not clear whether it's a channel or not. But he's asking that how can we use this data better way in future. I don't know which data he's talking about. Whatever you were explaining, I think he got some clue from there.
Okay, so how you can use the data in a better way?
Yes, we can improvise. How can we use this data for the betterment in the future?
Well, data is a new oil. So, as it comes to a customer, it is important, or a user needs to safeguard himself or herself better. And if you're a user, or if you, for example, if you're a service provider, you have to work with people's data securely in the confines of law and use it for lawful purposes only. If you want to use it for commercial purposes, you must be transparent to say the same. And where would you be storing it, how it would be used, should be very clearly given. So it's important to do that. And as a user, you obviously have to understand what you're giving away in terms of, when you're taking any service. Read the terms and conditions very carefully, and access only authentic websites, adopting two-factor authentications, and otherwise, you can actually safeguard your information properly. Yeah.
Okay,
Do we have
all
another
right.
question?
You were explaining so well about the current laws. As we have seen, we are quite aware about few of those. But still, we need to understand this. The privacy, the current law has got, protect privacy. Has it got that kind of capable of that the current privacy, whatever we have, that law can save us for the betterment of the future, or still we need to do some improvement into this?
Yes, I think apart from the current law which is there, the new PDP bill which will be strengthening this regime. In the meantime, we as users can keep ourselves safe, keep backups. For example, there have been a lot of ransomware attacks during this time. Keep your backups safely, and log off from a particular public account. If you're using a public cafe or a cyber cafe, don't forget to log off from there, using virtual keyboards rather than typing the password, using an SSL secure socket layer HTTPS website with a lock when you're doing a financial transaction. Just check that is important, and register for the email alerts. Discarding old phone, you have to be careful. It is got no content which is sensitive in it. So don't leave your phone unattended, and using a good password manager. Using secure Wi-Fi. People don't use secure Wi-Fi at times, so we need to at least use WPA2 or 3 encryption also on our Wi-Fi. So all these things are important, and using built-in encryption tools in our OS, we have in our devices many available, and just check what is the policy of your company. If you're an employee, for example, what data about you is being checked? Is your personal email ID being snooped? So all these things, one needs to be aware. Audits have to be done of security and data in an organization, and using digital signatures is obviously a good practice. So using good firewalls, VPNs, a lot of organizations have shifted to using virtual private networks during this time. And trainings like these are very, very crucial. So I
Right.
think these are the main things for cyber safety, which I think are important today. Yeah.
Right. Few more viewers has came forward to clear their dilemmas. Preeti Chavla is asking, okay, kindly if you guide antivirus firewall is already on. Okay, should we switch to Windows safely or not? I
Well,
think this is what she is asking about.
see, it depends what OS you're using. It depends whatever you use. You just need to keep it updated at all times. And software is different. We are talking about just checking the antiviruses are there or not, checking anti-spyware are there or not, whether you use Quick Heal or not, or any other McAfee or other filtering technology to protect your children or even otherwise your data. These are additional measures. But as regards OS, or your particular, whether you use Windows or you use Apple or you use any other, it's actually dependent on your own choice. But yes, whatever you use has to be up to date. That's very important. There are
Right.
definitely a lot of information available in various books which I've authored also. You can probably see on Amazon with my name, and there's a free app also called the IT Act and 2000 and Cyber Law India. You can actually see that. And our organization has been working on this cyber safety with schools, with children, with otherwise with people at large in corporations, with Fire NGO and our law firm State Associates. So I'm happy to answer any more questions, Samaj, in case
Yes,
there
yes,
is
there is a big
any.
one. I
Yeah.
think you have already been cleared so many things, so many aspects about the privacy. But still, I would like to ask one more thing from you. Why
Yes.
privacy under threat in digital, I would say, times?
privacy is under threat in digital times because there is so much that a person can steal, because we have so much information about ourselves, we put in or we share through electronic media, whether it's your laptops or iPads or it is your phones. We have not only conversations, we have photographs, we have videos. People can actually know a lot about you through whatever footprints we are leaving on internet and even browsing activity. Therefore, a lot of information can be stolen from these devices. Not only you are being profiled by retail stores or shopping malls or other service providers who are like wanting to know your commercial preferences and choices, but so much of your data could be sensitive, like your health record or your financial data. And fraudsters using relying on the feature of anonymity on the net think they will not be caught easily, and that is why there's a lot of crime increase in these times when people are heavily dependent on IT and technology, and there is so much available to steal, for the fraudsters, and so easily. And therefore these best practices are far more important, and I'm happy to share these with you today.
Right. When we talk about the laws, when we add on too many laws and time to time, what if I say, are there new laws being enacted to strengthen the right? I mean this right, I
Well,
would say.
new laws will be enacted with time, and you already see there are new issues emerging every day. Today, the debates on, how social media platforms should be regulated or not regulated, because they often say our servers are outside, we are not able to monitor every post. So, how much due diligence they have to do or not do, and how much can their personal information can be taken by them, is a huge question at this point of time. So, with new laws coming into place, with the PDP regime, the Personal Data Protection Bill, if it's enacted, the obligation of the service providers who are collecting information about us, sometimes with consent and sometimes without a clear consent, will get very clearly defined that they can do this and they cannot do this. And if they do this, then this is the penalty for this. So, and the enforcement also becomes better. So we are hoping with the new regulator, the Data Protection Authority being put in place, things will be more institutionalized and more regulated. And it will not be so easy for any fraudster to take our privacy so non-seriously. Yeah.
Pradeep Negi is there. I think it's a Negi or Nyogi. All right. Few more questions we will take. We have got 4 minutes left. Then after we will wind up session. Okay.
Sure.
Pradeep ji is asking, Madam, I am a teacher. That's a very good thing. I want to ask you that how to control the adolescent boys and girls from the adult movie and all, because just one click opens many restrictive things. Please explain. I think
Yes,
that's a universal question, I believe.
a very valid question indeed. Lot of times, obscenity, especially child pornography, has been considered as a prohibited offense. So, publishing anything online which is sexually obscene is illegal in India. The question is how many times, you observe that there's so much information online like this, and you're not able to block it. The moment you see something like this, it's important to report it to the authorities. They are the ones, the government can pass an order to block it. And in the Kamlesh Vaswani case in the Supreme Court of India, the blocking orders have been given, and the intermediaries, the service providers, have been asked to basically filter out content which is obscene. So the task is on, and the moment there's a of child opportunity, related content, which is also banned under POCSO, it is taken down by orders either of the courts or of the government orders. So it's important to report. It's very important to take care of this aspect. Yeah.
Right. So many technical questions are keep coming, but we haven't got too much of
Yes.
time. But I'm taking one more.
Yes.
Seema Sharma, what she is asking, let's see, when system gets updated, I beg your pardon, automatically, do we stand a chance of fetching malware threat during that? Technically.
Well, when the system is getting updated, usually the patches and the security parameters are basically being updated. And if you have alongside a good antivirus or an anti-spyware, that is also basically as a safeguard. If you're using good firewalls and if you're using these tools, then it should not land you up in a situation where the hacking is taking place during that time frame. So usually that would not occur unless you don't have any kind of mechanism put in place in your device. And many OS systems, they have inbuilt firewalls and inbuilt technologies to actually safeguard your systems also apart from your softwares. So I think there is not much chance, but then there is nothing foolproof in today's world, in the IT world. Anything, especially today's times of IoT, anything is possible. So when even government authorities get hacked, I mean, or even most secure and robust systems of the world can get hacked, or corporations, there is nothing which is impossible in today's times.
Right. Still, the technical questions are keep coming, but we are running short of time. If I'm failure while picking your question, not to worry, we will conduct another
Sure.
webinar, so then you can ask your questions from there as well. Last
Absolutely.
question I would like to ask. We have got only 1 minute left, and I want you to also deliver a positive message to our viewers as well. How can we safeguard our privacy online? As we do a lot of things online, how we can get the privacy over there?
Just maintain all precautions from your side. Go and surf on only official website handles of particular websites or services. Be on credible websites. Financial transactions should be only done on HTTPS enabled websites, and don't post information which you want should be only private. And if you're using any website to, say, for example, store any personal pictures, just make sure you put the privacy settings in order, and only share what you would don't want, what you don't want others to see. Don't share that. Specifically, a message to children that they should be very, very careful when they're clicking selfies and sharing with anyone. So that's something which we have to understand, that our safety lies, it's in our hands, and the minimum we share, the minimum risk we have. So
Right.
be
Minimum risk.
safe and
Okay.
be secure while you surf online.
Right. Just half minute we have got. So, what positive
Sure.
message you would like to give to your viewers? But they are very interested while asking their dilemmas, and I'm very happy as well while having their participation. But the time is the limit. But the message, what you would like to give for?
So, one line message, I would say, our safety lies in our own hands. Be careful when you post, and be careful when you share anything, and click only what you would want yourself to see, and whatever you don't mind others would be able to see. Right? That's what
Right.
I feel.
What a
Yeah.
fascinating session that was. That was so instructive. That was so informative, and we learned a lot of things. And I believe you also enjoyed a lot of things over here. But as I
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much to the NCERT
yes,
and
yes, yes.
NCIT. I look forward to conducting more sessions with you.
I believe yes. We want you your time again, as you are an advocate of Honorable Supreme Court, but we don't want to meet you there. I believe that will be very keen. We all want you to be virtual and face to face. If you can come to the studio as well by delivering
Yes.
your own knowledge to our viewers. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, all the viewers, for the while participating like this. We are waiting for this. Actually, next session is also very important, where we will understand the subconscious mind, or autopilot, just a little later. Stay tuned.